Good evening, good evening, and welcome to a new edition of Urban Sentinel Live. And I'm your host, Reggie Kearney, and I'm glad to be with you here on this Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Looking out the window, look like it's cloudy and it's going to rain. Hey, we could use the rain. Before we get started, I guess, and I just want to, just say that the past weekends at events have been pretty astounding. We have a new person running for president now. Ms. Kamala Harris, Vice President at this time, soon to be President of the United States. People, this is our opportunity. We need to get out and vote and do what we got to do. Get with your family members and let them know that they need to go register to vote and then they need to go to vote. This is our time. Let's go for it. Let's have that spirit that we had when Obama ran. Okay? We can do this. Okay? Think about if we don't do it, what we're going to have in the White House, okay? I'm not going to say anymore, but it's been a great week for politics. So let's go ahead and get started. I got my good friend tonight, Mr. A.W. Jackson, who's a poet from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And this guy can really do it. You know, he guy got a lot of books. He's got a lot of poems written. He's really a great poet. He might even one day be considered the Langston Hughes of our day. Okay. So without further ado, A.W., how you doing tonight?
Doing great. Thank you all for having me.
Good. Glad to have you. Yeah, we try to mix it up. You know, we do some politics, some entertainment, educational stuff, literary stuff. You know, we just all over the place with this show and stuff. You know, we try to keep a diverse group of people coming on the show, and hopefully that gives us a diverse audience that tunes in to us on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. You know, so how you been doing, A.W.?
I've been good, trying to stay cool. This heat been unbearable everywhere, it seems like.
Yes, it has. Last week was a killer. Was it? I tell you, week before last. But you know, I can do the 80s and the low 90s. I'm fine with that. I don't have to have the hundreds, okay, or the high 90s. I definitely don't need to have that. You know. So as I was stating earlier, you're from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, correct?
So I moved here. I migrated here for a job opportunity. I'm originally from Maryland.
Okay.
Waldorf to be exact.
Okay. So then you migrated to the great city of Chapel Hill.
Yes, sir.
Nothing wrong with it. Chapel Hill's a nice city, like I told you earlier. You know, I'm from North Carolina, the great state of North Carolina. Well, I ain't gonna say the great state, the state of North Carolina, because it's got its issues too right now, you know. But I grew up there when things were different. Okay, I grew up there when things were different. So, you know, y'all got some work to do down there. But we're gonna talk about poetry tonight. So, tell me about how did you get into being a poet?
Yeah, so I've been writing like my entire life. I would say it started early elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I guess like taking it, I'm not gonna say like seriously, but kind of piqued my interest with poetry starting in high school. I took an elective. And then once I, got the different types of poems, different structures and things, I kind of just fell in love with it. And from there on it kind of took off, and I really started taking it seriously, I would say, after I graduated college.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you remember in your poems you wrote when you first got started?
Yeah, so I actually saved some. So in my first book, I threw some of those in there from poems that I wrote in high school and things like that. I threw, I believe, maybe about no more than 5 of them I threw in there. So I think it fit well from what I was trying to do.
Read me one of your poems you did in when you first got started when you were in elementary school.
Okay, let me go ahead and get this book.
Okay.
I got it in my first book actually. Um, this one's titled William Thoughts, right here,
Uh
and
huh.
I designed the covers
Oh,
myself
okay.
as
Good.
well.
Good.
Let me see which one. So this one I wrote when I was younger. It's called "In My Feelings." Deserted on an island, isolated from snow. Nowhere to plant my seeds in order to grow. No nutrition, no sunlight, no water to feel my pain. Mentally in my head, I'm going insane. No one will get it nor understand my struggles. These same struggles causes me to put up this bubble, trying to protect myself from this predictable emotions. No wait, let me stay focused.
Hmm. That was good. How old were you when you wrote that now?
So high school, so I would say 17, 18.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good. 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 So, what kind of advice during that time did your English teachers give you?
So funny story is I feel like the world everything comes full circle, right? Um I was in high school, I think I was in ninth grade, I believe. Um and one of my teachers said, I think he should, be in honors English. And told my mom, and then she thought it'd be great for me. So I did a year in honors English, and then one of my teachers, I was struggling a little bit. It was just the adjustment, I would say. And then she kind of, I wouldn't say she was trying to get me out of the class, but that's kind of
Hmm.
what it was. But then if your parents, could side with the school and say, no, my child needs to be here, and tell them why, then they'll keep you. So long story short, I never really struggled in English after that. It's always been like a strong suit of mine. Um, Honestly, I almost see how I didn't even go to a performing arts school. I would say to write. I just chose a different route, not really thinking, and everything just came back full circle. I would say, to my life now.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Now, what motivated you? What motivated you and turned you on to wanting to write poetry when you were in high school? What spot? What? How did you get that flame?
Yeah, just the creativity, what you can do with it. There's so many avenues, so many lanes that you can do. You can talk about anything, and for a lot, I guess a lot of time in my life, I felt like I didn't really have a voice, and people kind of shoot me away. Really, they didn't really
Hmm.
care. So I think this is my voice and the way I know how to get people's attention.
Okay. Good. 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 Okay. So you got started with it in high school and continued on with it. So when you attended college, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so when you got in college, what kept you going with the poetry in college, and what did you major in college?
Yeah, yeah. So I actually my first school I went to was St. Andrews, which is in Laurinburg.
Hmm.
And I was there for 2 years and then transferred to Belmont Abbey outside of Charlotte.
Okay.
And then my degree is in sports management.
Okay.
So doing I've always was athletic and played sports, but
Hmm.
that wasn't trying to play in the college level and things like that. So I'll be equipment manager for our college sports team. So I was equipment manager for the wrestling team at one of my schools, basketball team, tennis team as well. So I was involved doing that. I kind of wanted to pursue, equipment manager and things like that. And just throughout my college years, I would just be writing, just in my phone,
Hmm.
just writing. Then a period of time, once I finished school and I knew I wanted to, publish a book, um, I was starting to ask around, how can I do it?
Okay. So what kept you? So would you say that during your college years, poetry was more of therapy for you than actually, was it through a therapy for you? because you were spending more time in sports than you were spending with poetry, I assume. So would you say it was therapy for you when you wrote poems?
Yeah, most definitely. It was definitely therapeutic for me to write poetry, and then this that time of the life just changing schools, and the curriculum was different, grading system was different, professors was different. It was kind of like me starting over, really. So at that point in my life was kind of hard. Just getting adjusted to everything, the culture changing things. So I just wrote what I was going through, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Now, why you didn't major in English?
I don't know. It just, it's, I don't, I honestly couldn't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I go back and forth, and tell my fiance, my mom. I don't think my mom even knew I wrote like that,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Because when I had my first book, and she saw it and she read it for the first time, not even right away, I don't think. But then she told me, she was like, "Well, I didn't even know you can write that well. I didn't even know you had all this." So like she didn't even know. So it was just something I don't think anybody really knew, honestly, besides me and just what I had in my phone.
Yeah, Ma.
I had a quick question because I heard that he was from Chapel Hill, and as you know, sometimes when we're doing these shows, today I'm in the home studio, but sometimes I'm doing it from the Hayti Heritage Center, which has got a rich poetry community and has definitely got some great poets that are even mentors to others, like Dasan Ahanu, and of course the Church, the Poet, and LB. So I was wondering if he had connected with that poetry community here in the Carolinas, because I do know that just this past Saturday they had the poetry slam. It was actually the paper thin, the one where you can literally read from the paper, because a lot of times you can't do that in a slam competition. So I was just wondering if AW had plugged into that community as yet, because it is a very rich community that's been doing that slam for about 20 years here in this area. So if you plugged into that community yet at all, I know that even Kane and G used to have some ties to the Sacrificial Poets, which used to be based in Chapel Hill as well. And I think there was a gentleman whose name is slipping me, but I know it begins with a C and everything all along those lines. But I just wondered if you plugged into that community as of yet.
Yeah, funny story that you mentioned it, right? I have, and I met Dasan, spoke to him personally. So crazy story is, and honestly, we was living in Durham first, so I never even knew about the center and how much it was a staple to Durham. Because I mean, Durham is I would say Durham is for our people, and it started from like the ground, really, especially the history behind it, just being the mecca of family and everything. So I actually got the opportunity to go there. So I signed up for that poetry slam, and I ended up coming on the wrong night. And so me and my fiance came to the wrong night, and the song was there. But I didn't know him at the time, and he was selling his books, and the event cost money. And I was like, "Oh, is the poetry slam tonight?" And he was like, "Oh no, that's next week." I was like, "Oh man, I came prepared and everything." And then he was like, "No, we have another event right now. Is just poets, and we're doing it's a tour going on." He was like, "Oh, go ahead, go in." And I was like an hour and some change late from when it started. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So me and her, we just went in there, and we caught a couple of the ending performances. Two people. And then at the last performance, guess who shows up? The sign.
Right.
And I'm like, "Oh wow, that's the guy who let us in, and he the one who's running this whole thing." And it was just amazing. I just felt honored because he didn't have to do that. He couldn't be like, "Hey, pay 25." He could have easily did that. So stayed and then mix and mingle. I met some other amazing poets, exchange contacts and things like that. I even met someone that might be a candidate for my third book. I've been trying to look for, an editor. I've done two with one of my editors. I feel like it's time, for me to kind of move on and branch out. So I've been trying to look for editors. So came across her, and Dasan uses her too. So shot her an email and things like that. And she's supposed to be getting back to me because I think I'll be a good candidate in her anthology book that's supposed to be coming out next year. But yeah, for that poetry slam, I was a contender. I did the poetry slam. I didn't win, but that was my first ever poetry slam ever. So it was nerve wracking, and God is always testing us I pick number one to go because it's random. The order that you pick to go, I will be number one to start us off, right? So that was just nerve wracking in itself. But I'm just happy that I got to get out there, got to show people what I can do, and just and see what the responses was.
Yep,
Okay.
definitely. A lot of times those responses are very interesting, and particularly a slam poetry and everything. I don't know if Reggie could handle that because you get judged by the contestants, and sometimes, as Dasan likes to say, there are those East German judges and the South Korean judges that can be a little bit harsh and all along those lines because sometimes they are randomly picked individuals from the audience, and some of them are a little bit harder than others. So it definitely can be difficult. So the fact that you came out there and got through your fears is a good thing, and all along those lines. Before I pop off and everything and let Reggie continue the interview, what advice would you give to folks that are thinking about getting into poetry or are worried about that whole notion of the imposter syndrome? Because we do know that a lot of us creatives can face that imposter syndrome, and it can be very problematic where we can be our own worst critics and everything. So I was just wondering, how do you deal with that, and how did you deal with that as a performer?
Yeah. So I would just say you have to tune a lot of people out, honestly, and focus on, the bigger picture, what you're doing it for. And as we know, a lot of the greats, they don't get the recognition until, they gone. So, and we know people, when it comes to popularity and things, people gravitate toward that quickly. So it takes a while to build a following and a fan base and things. So you just have to stay with it and be consistent and persistent, honestly, and just keep going. And then the right people will come along and they'll notice.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it back over to you. I'm thinking of that editor that you might have run into because I know she's been helping Dasan in their poetry. It might have been Jess Everhart, if I'm thinking correctly, because I know that Jess has been doing a lot of work in helping him with his book and a number of other things as well. But I'm gonna turn it back over to you and Reggie. I do got a question for Reggie about politics in North Carolina, but I'll get back to that toward the end.
Okay. So, how long did it take you to write your first book?
So honestly, it was probably over a course of 10 years, really.
Oh man.
Like because I was just writing, so I really wasn't thinking about like putting in a book per se until after. So it took me like I would say over a decade. Then my second book took less than a year easily, and that one has way more poems than my first book.
So, how many poems do you have? How many pages do you have in your first book? Your poems?
So I was in my first book. It's about probably 50. It was 80 total pages. So yeah, it was about, I'll probably say about 70 poems in there. And then book 2 is over 100.
And you just took your time with the first book.
Yeah, because I know what I like. I know the concepts I was trying to go with, and one thing I wanted to do and try to kind of be different is I don't like it when people are kind of generic when it comes to like poetry and things. So I kind of step outside the box a little bit. That's even down to my name or what I go by, how I spell my books and things like that. Down to my titles, it's strategic and it's really implemented, and it made you want to think.
Okay, good. Read me another poem from your first book, man.
Yes, sir. This one's called Million Man March. I am your ear to listen to all your problems and struggles. I am your voice to speak up and defend yourself when you are afraid to. I am your eyes to look away from negativity that comes your way. I am your feet to walk away from violence and conflict situations. I am your shoulder to cry on when you feel lonely and don't have support. I am your smile you show the world even though you are going through hardships. I am your hands to pick you up when you are down. I am your knees to stand up for what is right despite how others feel or think. I am your brain to keep being strong mentally and keep pushing yourself to fulfill your goals. I am a Black man.
Oh, okay, man. That's good. That's good for this day and time.
Yes, sir.
That poem is right on time and everything. Now, do you ever find yourself mentoring young kids or other high schoolers at this time now that who have the desire to write poetry?
Yeah, so I currently want to get into that. In my I want to do like a nonprofit dealing with writing,
Hmm.
like a mentorship program and things like that. But and by day in my personal life, I'm elementary school teacher, so I definitely do that already and
Hmm.
have students, but I am trying to do a mentorship program with kids. I would say from elementary school to high school,
Okay. Then what grade do you teach in elementary school?
kindergarten.
Oh, okay. You kindergarten, man.
Yep.
Tell you.
Yes, sir.
Well, yeah. Look, doing kindergarten is probably much easier than doing the middle school and high school.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because with the elementary school in general, just not kindergarten, but they still have a little bit of potential,
Uh-huh.
and you can kind of get a hold of them. But like
Mhm.
once they get a little older, like middle school and high school, they're in their own little way by then. So it's
Yeah.
it's, it's a little harder.
Yeah. They're in their own world. Yeah, Ma.
It's me again, and I had a question because the other thing he said he was involved in, and we do have the Olympics coming up, and I do know that there are some people with North Carolina ties, including some Chapel Hill ties and everything. But I was just wondering because I have a second cousin. Yeah, your first cousin's daughter would be a second cousin that is into athletic training. They're actually working at I think it's Trinity in Durham and everything along those lines. So just wondering, what are you doing in terms of your work, in terms of the sports world? Are you doing anything in terms of coaching? Are you doing anything in terms of the rec leagues or anything in that space? Because you did mention that one of the things that you had been interested in was sports, AW. So just wondering what you're doing in the sports lines.
Yeah, yeah. So I recently stepped down from a professional sports job. I was a kind of executive with the Durham Bulls for 2 years. It was just a lot of hours, and my mom would come to visit, and I see her maybe once a year, if that. And then when she did come to visit, I couldn't really enjoy it, spend my time with her. Um, so it was just kind of getting a little bit too much, and I wanted more of my family time and things like that. So I ended up just stepping away from that. But as far as sports goes, I probably won't get back into working into sports. Just depends, because I am trying to start a family, and I do have about to be married soon. So just think about all of that. Um, but I have been trying to find like rec leagues and things like that because I did play tennis in high school. So I'm a tennis player. So I found something in Raleigh that I can do. Um, I sort of signed up, so I think I'm a little late. So maybe I can do it maybe next year. We'll see. And then I love cornhole too, and saw some like cornhole leagues and stuff. I was thinking about maybe trying to be a part of because I'm pretty nice.
They
In
say,
that, sorry, in that lane, because some people that are tennis fans are also fans of this other sport that has become very popular and everything. Because I actually was talking to a young lady that she's not a big fan, and she's a avid tennis player and a tennis purist, I guess you would say. But there are some people that also love pickleball. So have you gotten into pickleball yet, or is that something that you're trying to stay away from? Because a lot of people are saying that that's a popular sport that seems to be a cross between tennis and I think it's ping pong or table tennis or something along those lines. But have you gotten into this whole pickleball craze?
Yeah, I haven't gotten to it just yet, but I do have coworkers. They do that, every week, or so it told me, I should come out and maybe give it a try and stuff. So I've been thinking about it.
I hear you. Just really quickly, and we'll turn it back over to you and Reggie and everything. But you said you were with the Bulls, and there is a gentleman that is very well known as well, and I everybody know him because he appears on the network sometimes on our news show. And he used to have a show called Gamers Den because he's very much in the gaming space, meaning the whole esports space. But I was wondering, during those 2 years that you were working, if you ever had the chance to meet Jacoby McDuffie, who is the voice of the on the field antics and all along those lines. So I know he oftentimes is involved with the Bulls organization. I didn't know if you had a chance to meet with him during the 2 years that you were working there.
Oh, most definitely. Jacoby is my guy. He was a pleasure to work with, especially helping me with my clients that need to get up on the field and get involved with the different games on the field and stuff. He did a great job with that. Help me with my clients and things like that. And I helped them I think he had cause I know he went to NCCU, so I think they did like a back to school night or just honoring NCCU. So I orchestrated the tickets for him and things like that. So it was a pleasure working with him. He's very great at what he does and always get the crowd going.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh man, we can get along fine now because that's where I went to school. That was NCCU. Yeah, 1979 graduate of NCCU and everything. Yeah,
the campus is nice. I drive past it.
Man, it's changed, man. When you look at it when I was there and you look at it now, I mean, I'm in awe of what I see when I go down there. It's just different, man. It's just, but a lot of those buildings were old when I was there. So they had eventually you have to replace and then do improvements to get into the 21st century. So, how well did your first book sell?
I think it's still pretty good. Like for me, honestly, I think it could have done better. Just on the aspect of me promoting myself and things like that. So I'm just learning. It's a learning process. Like I never really put myself out there, and I'm doing it, all by myself, really, honestly. So it's a learning process, but I've gotten great responses on it. Great responses on it. One of the teachers, because I was a teacher and I'm in Maryland as well. She can't wait for my third book. She always message me and say, "I can't wait till your third book come out. I'm waiting." So she loves all my work.
No, that's good. That is great. That is great. So is the first book on Amazon?
Yep. The first and second book is on Amazon. If you look up A.W. Jackson, then it'll pop right up. This is my first one. That's what that one looks like.
Right.
And then my second one looks like this.
Oh, okay.
And it's a little bit thicker, as you see.
You got a lot of poems. You got a lot of poems in there, boy.
Yeah. And in my second book, I think it's better than my first. I mean, my fiance said number one is the best, but I think my second one, I really went into detail because my first book was more of an intro to me, really, and like who William kind of is, and kind of slowly, trying to build. And then my second book, I'm going more into detail, bigger topics, and touching on stuff I vaguely talked about in my first book, but I did that on purpose so I can elaborate on the second book.
Right. Now, what was your inspiration for your second book?
Inspiration, I would say just the trials and tribulations of life and just growing and just learning and just getting better. Just using it as motivation and fuel to keep going in life because we all, go through things. So these books, I would say, help people to get through life, whatever stage that they are in life, to help it use and to motivate them.
Now, okay, so I think a lot of us have been taught in school that poetry is roses are red, violets are blue, and la 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 la. Okay, now when you hear poetry today, and for years, okay, you don't hear that rhythm, okay? You might hear that syncopation, but you don't hear that rhythm. So how the style of poetry today is much different than probably what you would teach a kindergartner or something like that, okay? Or even teach in the middle school and probably high school. So how do you take it and you put it into the context of it sounding like a poem?
Yeah, so
the flow, that's what I'm talking about. How do you get that flow, that poetic flow?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just depends on like my topic of really what I'm talking about. I think it just happens like naturally because I write a lot of free verse poems. So I really don't have no length. Some of them are short. I got a couple of line poems. It's like heavy punchliners that'll hit you. I got long poems, like 2-3 pages length. So it kind of just all depends. And I think just the emotion of how you're saying and what you're saying kind of sets the tone for it to be a poem.
Now, how would you get how were you able to get a 2 to 3 page poem?
Yeah, I was just going, just writing, and whatever was in my head, just kept going and just kept going, and then I got 2 pages. So it just certain ones it's like that, but for the most part, I would say most of my poetry is like 1 page at least, or a little shorter than that.
Okay. Now I know because you're in the business of developing poetry books and making money and things of that nature. Now, do you copyright each poem, or you just copyright the book itself that the poem is in?
I copyright the book itself. I thought about copywriting just selected poems, especially when I know ones I feel like they're gonna blow up eventually later in life. Cause I got some poems I feel like they can easily win different contests and things like that. I actually recently won a contest with Kwame Alexander. I just won that recently. And it was a community poem, and it took me like four hours to write that poem. So like stuff like that, I'm thinking about it.
Okay. Now, read me a couple poems from your new book.
Oh, so this is the intro to my book.
Okay.
My second book. It's called William's Muse. You are now entering the Museum of Memories. Remember, no pictures. At each exhibit, you will see important artifacts that's worth more than any amount of currency. As you look on the right, you can see William's heart. See how plumped and bright red it is. If you look closely, it's still pumping, full of life, but just a shallow heartbeat. And do you see that big rip down the middle of, and do you see the big rip down the middle of bandages trying to put it back together? Fascinating. Let's go a little further. If you look on the left over here, you'll see William's eyeglasses. Look how unique looking they are, filled with different colors with black and blue spectacles on them. Can I try them on? As the man says, about to grab them off the display stand. No, you may not, says the tour guide. These glasses are sacred and powerful. I wonder what beautiful things William saw through these lenses. Let's keep going on this journey, shall we? Follow me. So as we go further, you will see straight ahead in this glass case is William's soul. Wow, says the middle-aged man. So that's what a soul looks like. It looks so peaceful, he said. Indeed, his soul was, said the tour guide in a humble tone. Let's keep walking. Lastly, we are coming up on our last display. There on the right, you can see this is William's phone. Is it new, says the girl. No, not at all. It's actually over 20 years old, says the tour guide. It's so shiny looking with no scratches and with no cracked screen and with no phone case, a teenager girl in the front row of the group says. That's very impressive. He is bold, she says. Yes, indeed, he is very bold, says the tour guide. What's so special about a phone? An older aged man in his mid-60s says. Trust me, you wouldn't believe the magic that came out of that phone, said the tour guide in a passionate tone of voice. As we come to a close, does anyone have any more questions? Yes, I do have a question, a younger looking woman with curly black hair says from afar in the back of the small group. Who is William? Good question, said the tour guide, smiling so wide. Let me tell you who William truly is.
That's it. It is so abruptly, it's just like, is that it? It's like you leave the audience wanting, the next line that goes along with it. That sounds good, man. I really like that.
Yeah, I wanted to do something different for an intro for my second book, to grab the readers, I love museums and things. I was like, shoot, that's a perfect concept. That's genius. Let me just run with it.
Now, have you ever written any political poetry?
Not too much political, more
Mm-hmm.
more I would say like I'll say our people, black poetry I have, but not so more like political.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know too much yet.
Mm-hmm.
So once I really explore and really learn, I think that will be a thing later in life. Because I mean I do like politics and things like that. I'm just uncertain about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, 'cause I thought maybe you had probably written one on Obama, something, to
No,
celebrate him. And hopefully you'll write one to celebrate Kamala Harris, in the future and
yes,
everything.
sir. In my later years, I definitely I do got some poems in here.
Mhm.
Um Actually I can read this one.
Okay.
Um Let me see where it's at. This one is called African Cubism. Night turns to dust, watch all the volcanoes erupting of mixed emotions, eagerly to confront any problem or situation that was done from past generations to come. And taking back what is ours is a must. A large lumps of some a large lump of sums of proceeds would be just, but recognition is on a higher scale is a must. And recognizing that we are the finest of why America is aligning. This is part of the reason why my culture is divided. The moment is now. Look at your watch. Now that's perfect timing, meaning that no more days should be wasted to take this action. We aren't no partially co-owners of our ideas, cutting in half like fractions, and we won't be given hush money so we can forget what happened. And our blood, sweat, and tears won't be wiped away with a napkin because it's a permanent stain. My ancestors' creations will always remain on nature's soil and distilled in my brain. Whether we discover the grain or chose to entertain, our talents and hard work won't be taken in vain. And power and strength runs through our veins, and our creative minds cannot be detained. We aren't inherited money like the Jews, constantly taken from our artwork, even down to the hues. History really repeats itself. Dang, who knew? Telling false information as if it were true, and stealing everything that we do. Damn, Picasso, not you too.
Good, man. Good. I like that. I like that. I like that. It seems like you're well versed in writing poetry. You know.
Yes, sir. I try to, hit different topics. Like for me, I'm gonna be real with you all. Um, I really don't like erotica poetry and things like that. Like I'm not that type of person. Like I'm more private with my stuff.
Mhm.
So that kind of even inspires me to write. Other than that, I have wrote erotica poems, a couple of them, just to test my water, see if I can do it, just cause. But I like to talk about bigger topics.
AW, in that same line and everything, you mentioned that you are engaged and you're starting hoping to start a family. I was wondering if you have any relationship points because whenever I go to the poetry slam, I know a number of people will do poems about the ups and downs of relationships because we do know that relationships can have ups and downs and everything. So I was wondering if you had some relationship poems that the ladies did watch and tune into Reggie's show might be interested in as well.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. I got a relationship poem right here for you. Um, Let me see. Let me find it. Let me find it. It's called Secret Admirer. I want to fall in love with a poet that's as creative as me, that sees beauty in my words, sentences, metaphors, and similes. Even though we're in America, she makes me feel like I'm overseas, where we can talk about the birds and the bees and intimacy, of soft touches of me touching your hair, or you looking deeply in my eyes trying to repair for all the damage that I face of negative energies embrace to my puncher soul. But she will bring me back to life with her neo soul. I memorized by her style, smile, and smell. She would give me the motivation and energy to have the stamina to run for miles and miles and miles. And if you checked her USB flash drive, she would have me saved in her files of a folder that's named Woken Child. Because the conversations we have are so intellectual, it causes her to be wet. I get her engines running in double time Corvette. I put that high pressure on her, dripping down her body. She sweats because I challenge her mindset.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. That's good. You have all the women storming the stage, man, or your table. You read that.
And funny story about that poem, right? I wrote that years ago. I wrote it a while ago, and I spoke it into to existence. And shortly after, I met my fiance, and she's a poet as well. She writes, does all that.
Did she hear that poem? Hear you reading that poem, or you just having her? You met her, and you both identified that y'all were poets.
We both identified that we was poets. Shoot, she even wrote poems previously, speaking into existence what type of man that she wanted, and it was me. Same characteristics she spoke even in high school. But the characteristics she wanted in a man, like on her list was a teacher.
Oh, okay.
That's me. So it's very fascinating that when you speak things into existence.
Hey, AW, that same line and everything. Sometimes people will say, and I'd love to hear Reggie's thoughts about this as well, because I can't remember if his wife is in the same line or not, but I have heard some people say that it is easy to get together with somebody that is a fellow creative. And then I've heard other people say that they would rather get together if they're a creative with a doctor or a lawyer or somebody that is in a totally different field. So it sounds like you and your fiance are fellow creatives, but how difficult is it to be with somebody that's a creative? And like I said, I don't know if Reggie's wife is a fellow media person or not. I can't remember that or not. But how difficult is it to be with somebody that is of similar skills and similar interests?
It's not difficult at all. She has many interests, but I guess life be lifing, as we say. So I'm trying to get her back into the swing of things, to be more creative and do things, whether it be painting, whether it be writing, different things like that. But I mean, she loves my work, and honestly, she is probably one of the few people that can really depict my poems and literally say what it means, like what it's trying to say, what the tone it was. And when I first met her, I was just reading my stuff to her, and she was loving it. A lot of times when I did, read my stuff to, women I was dating, you can tell it wasn't real. Like, faking it till you making it, right? Like, you can tell it really wasn't interest or, things like that. So I kind of felt that. But with her, it was the opposite. I knew she was interested, just by the things that she said and asking certain questions about my poems and things like that. Because that's why I write. I want people to ask me questions.
Hey, Reggie, are you in the same thing as your wife or not? I can't remember if she's a fellow.
No, she's into the money. She's in finance, but she supports my media empire, my little mini media empire. She supports that, So I do have that support. So, AW, have you ever been over to Bus Boys over in Hyattsville when they have their poetry night? Have you ever done
Yes. Yeah, so I've been to Bus Boys and Poets, but I haven't did anything performing or nothing. I just went there to eat. But I did, but by the time that stage of my life kind of came, I already moved and changed locations, because I moved to Georgia first, and then I moved to North Carolina. So yeah, I actually talked to them because I really want to get my books in there. So we're gonna see.
Yeah, it's a good spot. So how do you go about now getting your books into different stores and stuff?
So what I do, I just go around and ask. It's one local bookstore. I'm not too far, like up the street from me. I just went in there and asked, what I have to do to get my stuff in here and things. I told them I'm a poet. Just introduce myself. And I said I have to go online on their website and things. I guess they gotta go through like approval and things. Then I guess they'll go from there.
Now I know when we were talking earlier this week, you said you going down to Columbia, South Carolina this weekend.
Yep. I got an event in Columbia, South Carolina on Saturday, and then I got an event here in Raleigh on Sunday.
Oh, okay. And so then what type of events are those that you'll be participating in this weekend?
So for this weekend, this one is like a food truck little venue little thing. They got food trucks there, all types of different choices and flavors, as well as authors such as myself be out there with their books and things. So I look at it as a great opportunity. I'm excited because this is going to be my first, book signing. That's kind of on a much larger scale because the ones that I recently did sell my book. My first one was they was hosting this book in Wilkesboro. I don't know if you're familiar with that in the mountains in North
Yeah.
Carolina, but they it was at a winery, nice winery. I honestly maybe wanted to revisit and have something like that for, like, when we get married and things, because the venue it's just so nice. But that was their first event having that, so they was kind of testing the waters. So it really wasn't much, foot traffic through there. It was about, I would say about 9 of us authors there selling, and it was good. I made connections and things like that. A couple of the authors actually bought my book, actually, because they found it enjoyable. So, and then my second one I did book signing, I was at a vegan restaurant, and it was just me in there. So I would just, whoever came in the restaurant, I talk to them and things. So it wasn't that, too much of foot traffic. It was more foot traffic than my first event at the winery, but I believe this event is going to be a whole lot better and a whole lot more people. So it's a perfect time I get to talk to people, and then tell them what I do.
So you haven't been down to the book and author event down in Daytona Beach yet, have you?
No, I have not. My mentor told me about it. Yonder, he told me about it. Yeah, and I seen that he went, I believe.
Yeah.
I eventually, I'm gonna do stuff like that. I saw one that I wanted to do in Oklahoma City, but I'm probably not gonna be able to do it. But it's definitely gonna be on my radar for next year because they have like panels where you can pitch your book to different editors and things like that. So it's a great opportunity because I know my book's gonna be picked up by anybody. My third book got picked up actually by editor. A company called Pegasus picked it up.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't go with them. I wanted something a little bit better. So.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about having one in the fall. Actually, I'm trying to put it together now. Trying to have a event, hopefully in the fall. So I'm working on it now. For this area, for the DC area.
Oh yeah, if you do get it up and running, let me know. I'll come.
Yeah.
I'll come back.
Yeah. So I'm definitely thinking, but just trying to find a location. Not have a whole lot of expenses. Basically be opportunity for authors to come in and rent a table, probably some panel discussions and things of that nature. So.
Are you going down at all? Because I know there are a number of poets that will be there, and it's just down the road from us here in Durham and Chapel Hill. But are you going down to Winston-Salem? This is the year of the International Black Theater Festival because they changed the name. It used to be the National Black Theater Festival, but it'll be starting on this coming Monday. And I know they have the Midnight Poetry Slam, and there's a number of other opportunities for poets and would-be actors to perform. So I was just wondering, are you going down there at all a week from yesterday? So it'll be on this coming Monday and everything, that it'll start and run, I think, for the entire week going into the early part of August and everything. So I was wondering if you'd heard about that and if you're going down there.
I have not heard about that. I have to, go ahead and do my research and start digging and looking. Because I love Winston-Salem. Me and my fiance went there recently, actually. And that, like, just me mingling and meeting people. And I came across a gentleman where they have it's like a newspaper company. I think it's called like 53 Pages or something like that, or something like that. So I was just going there, just curious. And they publish authors' books for free, no expenses, no nothing. I was like, how do I do that? How do I get my book? Well, I'm not spending my money, And then he was like, you gotta get yourself out there and have build a fan base, submit your work into newspapers, things like that. So that's what I've been doing. I've been submitting my things into newspapers and get myself out there. So you basically need the accolades and proof that that you're gonna sell some books, that you got following, and then they'll do it for free. And then he showed me a couple of the people that he worked with, poem books that they just published, and he gave me a couple of them. So that was really nice of him.
Yeah, that festival's been going on for a number of years. There have been the founder, Larry Leon Hamlin, passed away, and his wife has also since passed, but they are keeping it running. And like I said, it started off national, but it's always had a international flavor. And I do know that they do the Midnight Poetry Slam. I actually talked to Desan, and he said he might be heading down there. He's just trying to figure out what day he's going down there and everything. But yeah, and Garland Thompson Jr., who his father started the Readers Theater before he passed, and everything is still keeping that Readers Theater going, which is works in progress in the theatrical realm and all along those lines. So it'll be a worthwhile event to go if you can find a way to get down there, because a number of people are there. Tamara Tooney, who played one of the roles in one of the police dramas, as well as Clifton Davis, are the co-chairs this year, because I always have entertainment co-chairs and all along those lines. So it's some big names that'll be there, and you might want to check it out and everything. This will be my last time popping out, but the question I was going to ask you, Reggie, is just really quickly, and I know getting away from the poetry, but just really quickly, they're talking about Kamala's vice president, and a name that's being thrown out there is our own governor here in North Carolina, Roy Cooper, along with Josh Shapiro up there in Pennsylvania, Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan, and a number of others. So I just wondering your take on that, and who do you think it will be? And does Roy Cooper stand a chance of being the vice president? And maybe of AW wants to jump in that as well. I know he says he's not that political, but I just wondering your thoughts about this notion of Roy Cooper being the vice president.
Very slight chance of Roy being the number 2 pick. It's probably going to be Shapiro out of Pennsylvania, because that's a state she really needs. And Shapiro is probably more like the black version of Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland. Okay, so very articulate, things of that nature. Not saying Roy's not. Roy's a good guy too, but I think she really needs to slow down Pennsylvania. And I think North Carolina would probably flip. I think if people get out and really vote, because I think the Obama effect is going to take place, and I think North Carolina come. But Shapiro, she probably really needs to use him to get Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. I don't know how Southerner would do in Wisconsin and Michigan.
Yeah, that's a good question. Just really quickly, then, like I said, I ain't going to pop off it and everything. What do you think about the attack ad? Because we do know that a lot of people are going to be looking at the Montel Williams effect, because that was somebody that she dated way back when, as well as Willie Brown, and we're already seeing the attack ads that are bringing out her past and all along those lines. So are those going to continue, and will they have any resonating effect? Because we already know that people are trying to paint her as a opportunist.
No, Montel Williams was eons ago. The other guy, eons ago. I mean, everybody knows about it. They did the same thing when Biden picked her to be vice president. They went back on Montel. They went back on the previous mayor of San Francisco. They tied her into all that. Hey, look, she was single. Okay? She wasn't married. She won't hurt nobody. But that's politics. And politics gets dirty. When you get to this level, it's dirty. Okay?
No, they get dirty because they're already getting on her case for not being a natural mother, even though she is a stepmother. And I know that's going to be one of the attacks too, because she doesn't have any kids of her own, even though she's raising the kids that she has from her husband as a stepmother and everything. But I'm sure that's going to be part of the attack as either as if she has never birthed any children of her own.
Well, I'm not voting for her past or her present. I'm voting for the future. Okay.
Yep, exactly.
And that's what most people are doing. Okay, so Republicans, when they can't find nothing else, they go down low and get dirty and bring up stuff where they think is dirty,
right?
And it's not. And then you gotta look at it too. It's a black woman running, and they're gonna do everything to make sure a black woman doesn't get into the White House. If a black woman gets into the White House, all the white folks going back to Europe. Okay.
Yeah, but they also going to try to paint her as being not 100% black, because she.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing all that. I hear that. I hear that now. But she, one of my friends that's a Republican, he's up there in the establishment of the Republican Party. He said one day she says she's Indian, and one day she says she's black. And when I sent him a message back, I said and I just left it right there.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Okay, because I'm not going down that road with them guys.
I don't blame you. Well, I'm gonna let you get back to AW, but that's the questions I had to ask.
All right. So AW, what's some advice you can? And I think you might already answered again, but I want to bring it out to you one more time. What kind of advice can you give people who are interested in being poets or have started writing poetry, but they don't know how to really bring it together, and they don't know, and they might not have a mentor, but they really have that heart for poetry, but they just need that match to light them up, to get them going. What kind of advice could you give them?
Yeah, I honestly say to them, you might not think they might not think that their work is no good enough for, the masses and things like that. I just say just write. You never know what people might like. And then what I do, a strategy that I do, what kind of helps me is I buy other people's work, see what they doing, see what I can do with mine, make it better. So I enjoy doing that just to see what other people are putting out there to the world, and then you can use that to your advantage. So it kind of enhance off of that, or come up with different concepts and things like that. So that's I would strongly suggest them kind of studying other people really too, and see what they're doing, to see what works.
Good points. Good points. Good points. And what advice would you give them when it comes to picking someone to publish your book?
Don't let anyone publish your book. Just anybody. For me, I only publish with people out that I know that they see my vision and where I'm going. Anybody can just take your money. You know what I mean? They have to have a connection with you, really, and that's kind of where I go. So always get someone that's going to really support you and believe in you, and not just take your money. And it's costly. You put a lot of money into it to publish books, so that's another thing as well too. So be mindful of checking, calling different people, getting price points and things like that. I would say do that as well.
Now, what if you self-publish a book? What if you do everything yourself?
Yep. So I actually self-published these ones, but it just finding like an editor. So she was my editor. But my fiance edited my third book, so
Okay.
I got someone that pretty much like edit my stuff now. So um yeah, so that's a thing, and that's costly too, trying to get someone to edit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of like gravitating and want to start doing that as well.
Right.
And I want to do in my life. I want to be a ghostwriter as well.
Uh-huh.
Because I have a lot of ideas and concepts that people can use.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want them. I've written like a couple of topics or stories that people can just enhance and go off
Mm-hmm.
of just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
I actually wrote starting to dabble into mediums a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to do like an uplifting, motivational, um, just like just motivational topics and things. And I wrote a couple of them over 5 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
just now put it on Medium, trying to test the waters out.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, it's endless opportunities with this writing. It could take you in places and rooms that you never dream of.
Right.
I'm currently dabbling into music. I'm producing now. And just making beats and things like that. First, it was my own personal
Mm-hmm.
game, because I started doing a poetry album that I produced the whole thing and I finished it. So, and I started making beats in December of last year, and now I have over 200 beats easy. So just testing the waters, just being creative and doing anything and everything.
Excuse me. Just being an artist. That's all you're doing.
Yes, sir.
You're just using your artistic flavors to get it done. That's good. That's good. Well, to my listeners and my viewers, been chopping it up with A.W. Jackson tonight, who's a poet. The young man has some good stuff out there. You need to go out there and purchase his books. The two books he has out, they're on Amazon. Like he said earlier, just put his name in the search engine, A.W. Jackson. You see it pop up. You know how I am. We got to support our own. We got to get out there and make it happen for this young man. Support him, please. Support him, please. How much are your books, A.W.?
So they're only $20.
Okay, guys, $20. $20. You spend $20 on lottery tickets.
and they're available on ebook if more digital is your thing.
Okay, so support this young man with your lottery tickets for this week. Okay, we spend money on frivolous stuff. Spend money on this young man and push him along as a poet. Because, like I said, he might be the Langston Hughes of today. So support him and get it out. So I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight on the Urban Sentinel Live Show. Remember to go to urbansentinelmagazine.com and hit that purchase key to get your magazine for the August edition of Urban Sentinel Magazine. Got Gene Groove Allen on the cover, who was part of House Party 1 and 2 on there this month. Or either you can go to issuu.com and download a copy of it, okay? So let's support each other. And listen, guys, I'm taking off. August is my month. I'm not going to see you all in the month of August. You might see some reruns, but you won't see nothing live for the month of August. I got to take a break and get ready for the fall because we got a lot of stuff going on in the fall with politics and things of that nature. I might pop on. I don't think I will. I think I'm going to just hold on to what I've done so far this year and think about what I've done, okay? I need to take a break. I need to relax for a while. I know my
show next week because next week is the 30th, and then we'll have all of August. So are you doing
I'm starting next week, okay? Because next week begins August, okay? So I'm starting next week. I try to take at least 1 month off to get ready for the fall. Like I said, we got a lot of stuff going on coming up in the fall. We got the presidential elections coming up. My friends, we really got to push this election. Talk to your family members. You don't have to go talk to everyone. Make sure your family is taken care of first. Make sure you have talked to your family members about registering to vote, and then in November, get them out to vote. Okay? Don't worry about Pookie and Dookie and all the boys. Take care of your family. And I think if we all take care of our family members and get the words out to them, we're going to cover much more ground easier. Okay? But we're going to be talking about more stuff you can do to get people to the polls when we come back in September. And like I said, that might get that itch and might not be able to stay out to September, okay? But I might just pop in 1 or 2 times during the month of August, or just one time. But I want to stay up on this election and keep things going. So, AW, thank you again for joining us tonight. I wish you well. I know we'll be talking more because my boy yonder, we talk quite a bit. So I'm glad he's your mentor and he's got you on his wings. He's a good guy and he's full of ideas. So everyone, until we meet again, be safe out there. Stay out of trouble. Drink plenty of water and enjoy the rest of the summer. And I'll be talking to you soon. Take care. Good night. Take care,
Yes,
AW. You and I'll be talking, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Reggie, for having me.
You're welcome. Take care now.
Yes, sir. Bye.